All right, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to call this council meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I do not know your name.
Ashley.
Ashley is going to present for the 2023 audit from Schleiner and Munner.
Okay, so I'm going through this document that you have in front of you. It is the summary of the other two documents. There's two larger documents underneath that. So this is the summary version of the other two. And this walks through basically, like I said, a summary of the other two documents, kind of the most important things we're required to tell you, and then of course the financial results for the city for 23. So we will start off with the page there that says audit process and opinion. So a lot of you have probably heard this before, but this just basically shows what we do with an audit. So we get the city's records, we do a ton of inquiries, testing, procedures, and really through all of that, we're looking to issue an opinion for the city. For 2023, we're issuing an unmodified or clean opinion. That's the opinion you want to be issued. It means no significant issues or errors or misstatements arose during our procedures. Right. And then required communications. A few things we're required to tell you all. Overall, the audit went smoothly. We have a positive working relationship with management. Sarah and Monica always get us everything we need. Nothing missing as far as documentation goes, and no unusual transactions or accounting policies or treatments. Significant estimates, this is the same as in the past, that net pension asset and liability. There are actuarial estimates that are done by the state and the city's actuary to calculate those balances, so we're just required to tell you all that. That's nothing different in the past and nothing different than any other governmental unit in the state of Minnesota that has those balances. Other than that, one thing that's not on here, there was a new accounting standard this year, GASB 96. We reviewed the city's subscription arrangements for software for that, and there was nothing that we had to record. So that's why we don't really note it here, because we did not have to record any balances based on that, but did just want to let you know that there was a new standard that we did some procedures for.
Question, is
Yes.
that muted thing supposed to be flashing, or is that supposed to be, or is that just when?
It's fine. We're connected to Sarah.
Okay.
So that she's able to listen.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ashley, I'm sorry.
Yep, no problem. All right, so we will continue on, controls and compliance. First column there, audit adjustments. We did have some audit adjustments. Only a couple of those were material. And other than that, they're pretty standard adjustments. A few, I think a couple related to investments. The city changed out some investments this year, so we had one entry related to that. Other than that, pretty standard. Internal controls, the city does have a lack of proper segregation of duties. Very common for a city of this size. I will say there's a few different categories of your internal control findings there. You're at the lesser type of finding, basically a lesser impact, indicating that you do have some segregation in place compared to other cities that we work with, but you're maybe not at 100% segregation where we cannot have a finding at all. So you added a person, I think, last year, so that's the point when we downgraded that finding to a lesser impact there.
So basically, this is just lack of personnel?
Yeah, yes, yep. So being able to segregate your receipt cycle, your disbursement cycle, so that there's a different person kind of working on every piece to the puzzle there, which, not that there's no segregation at all, there for sure is segregation there.
Because I think it was stated the same last year's audit, the same thing.
Yep.
And I thought, well, it can't be too bad.
Yeah.
But it's just pretty common then, like you say, according to a city our size, that's
Yes, very common actually. We actually don't have, I think of all the cities we work with, I don't think we have any that don't report that finding. So actually cities much larger than you even have that noted in their financial statements. And then also there, we're just required to tell you all that we draft the financial statements, so those big reports in front of you, we draft those on behalf of the city. And then Sarah and Monica review those, and we go through those with them as well. And then that last column there, Minnesota legal compliance. Each year as part of our audit, we're required to look at various areas of compliance with Minnesota statutes. So we had a couple of findings this year, one that continued from last year. Broker acknowledgement certification. One of the city's investment companies was not willing to sign that broker acknowledgement certification. So every investment company that the city works with has to sign that, solely because cities and governmental units in general can only invest in certain things. So there are very strict statutes on what cities can invest in. So one of the city's investment companies was unwilling to sign that broker acknowledgement, so we have to issue a finding for that. Nothing the city did wrong, but I will say the city has already corrected that issue because the city has withdrawn funds from that specific investment company.
Did we have that one last year too?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
yep,
that's
that
right, I
was
remember
present last year, and then, like I said, it's already been corrected, so next year you won't see that. Because we actually already got the broker acknowledgement from the new investment company that the city's gonna be working with, so. Good news there that the city already corrected that, and we note that in the report too as well. And then the other one, sweep account compliance and deposits in excess of insured limits. So one of the city's bank accounts was just over the $250,000 insured limit, and it was over by maybe like $6,000. And when that occurs, the city's deposits are at risk. So let's say the bank fails. I mean, we're not saying that's going to happen, but if the bank did fail, that $6,000 would be at risk of being lost. I will say there as well, the city is already working with its financial institutions to correct that. The city has a sweep account set up, and the timing of the sweep just did not occur in time at 12/31 to get that below the 250. Any questions there at all? All right, we'll take a look at the numbers. We'll start off with the general fund. So that had an increase in fund balance of just under 51,000, ending fund balance of about 3.2 million. Overall revenues and expenditures increased from 22 to 23. You'll see your increase in fund balance very comparable to 2022. We'll actually take a look at these numbers probably in a little bit more detail over the next few pages here. And we'll start off with revenues. So those from 22 to 23 increased about 178,000. Some increases in property taxes there, you'll see about 99,000. Otherwise, investment income increased quite significantly there. Some improvements in how investments are doing, we're seeing that with a lot of our cities, but also the city did have some changes in its investments this year. The city got some CDs that were added to its portfolio, and then relinquished some investments out of a couple investment companies. So you're seeing quite a big increase in that investment income. Last year it was actually a loss. And then on the flip side, intergovernmental, you'll see a bit of a decrease there. That's almost solely due to ARPA dollars, so the American Rescue Plan Act federal dollars that came through last year. So last year was the last leg of those dollars coming through, basically.
So
the red was our projected and our green is our final?
So green is the budget, so projected essentially. And
the green's the projected?
The green's projected, yeah.
And the red's the final?
The red's the final,
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, exactly. Okay. And then on the flip side, we'll take a quick look at expenditures for the general fund. So those overall increased about 173,000. Some fluctuation here, but you won't see a lot. Some increases in general government, public safety, and public works. Some fluctuations in employee salaries and benefits. Not a ton there. I mean, if you look at some of those increases, they're not too fairly significant. Other things, we're seeing just some vehicles and street repairs. Other than that, if you look at Parks and Rec and capital outlay, not a ton of fluctuation there, overall decrease in capital outlay. And then unassigned fund balance. So unassigned fund balance is your spendable portion of your fund balance in the general fund. So each year we take a look at that compared to your budgeted expenditures. So these percentages here are that spendable portion of your fund balance divided by that your budgeted expenditures. And for 2023, that percentage sat at just under 151%. You'll see just a slight decrease there of 4%, so nothing too substantial. The city does have a policy for that percentage to sit 50 to 65% or greater. So you're well above your policy there, so you have a healthy unassigned balance sitting there that for your spendable portion. And then cash for the general fund, overall just a slight increase from 22 to 23, and that sat at about 3.08 million at 12/31/23. All right, and then we will take a quick look at the city's other funds. So the fire service fund, overall revenues exceeded expenditures by about 254,000. The ending fund balance there for your fire service fund was just over 846,000. Compared to 22, some increases in expenditures, mostly capital outlay, some turnout gear, dryer, air compressor, Tahoe were purchased. On the flip side, revenues increased. There was some additional public safety aid received from the state of Minnesota at the very end of 23, and then a FEMA grant which funded some of that equipment that I just mentioned, and then a reimbursement from the fire relief for some of that equipment as well.
So that's just fire?
Yep, that's solely fire,
Okay.
yep. And then that second column there is your 2020 improvement bond fund. Overall decrease in fund balance, and then ending of 606,000. Activity similar to prior years. You have your property taxes and special assessments coming in, and then your debt service going out. And then cash for the funds that we just discussed. So here we have your total debt service as a whole, and then your total capital project as a whole, and then your total special revenue. Those are just the different types of funds of the city. And here you're not seeing a ton of fluctuation. Fire service increased quite a bit, and then capital project increased. Overall cash for all of those funds combined sat at about 2.7 million. And then we'll take a look at the city's proprietary funds, the water and the sewer funds, starting off with the water fund. Overall increase in net position of about 270,000 and ending just under 4.5 million. Increase in revenues, some increases in rates there for residents. And then you'll see expenses very similar from 22 to 23, just a very slight increase there. And then the non-operating section there, that's almost entirely investment income. So you'll see in 22, you had a loss that was that negative 21,000 noted. And then in 23, that increase, you had an increase in your investment values. And then on the flip side, our sewer fund here, of course, with this wastewater project going on, there's going to be quite a bit of fluctuation. You'll see from 21 to 22 to 23. Overall increase in net position of about 6.8 million and ending of 20.2 million. A lot of that increase is your infrastructure. So you're building that wastewater or doing that wastewater project, and that's being capitalized as an asset of the city. So a lot of your increase there is that. The non-operating revenues there, that's your grant funding coming in for the project. Almost entirely all of that is that grant funding. Same with 22, that 8 million non-operating, a lot of that is the grant funding as well. I think last year it was SPAP and this year PSIG. So there's two different grant funding, two different types of grant funding that came through for that project. So we saw the one in 22 and the other type of grant funding started in 23.
Will there be 24 grant funding or not?
There will, yep. I believe there's still a little bit left on that SPAP, so you will see some of that in 24 as well.
Once we close out the project, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, other than that, I was just gonna mention quick, the non-operating expenses, that increased, the city made its first, payment on the PFA debt that was issued for that project. So that non-operating expenses is almost entirely that first payment. And then operating revenues increased, increases in rates for residents there.
Is that 20 or 25 years? I can't remember on those payments.
Oh,
Or is it 30?
I think it's 20.
20.
20?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
I couldn't remember.
And we'll maybe take a look at that debt in a few slides here. We'll show kind of the debt
Oh.
of the city and,
I'll stop talking.
no worries. And then cash for those two funds, overall increases. Some of that sewer fund increase is just due to timing of your funding coming through. So last year, at the very end of the year, we were kind of waiting for some funding to come through, so we were maybe on the lower end. That funding, a lot of that came through in 23, so kind of bouncing back up in 23 to where you were at 21. We're pretty close to it. Overall cash for those two funds combined sat at about 4.6 million. And then we'll just take a quick look at assets and liabilities as a whole for the city. So assets for the city as a whole, we have a few different categories here. You'll see current assets increased. A lot of that's increase in cash. So from 22 to 23, the city's cash as a whole increased about 1.5 million from year end to year end. And then the capital line item there, a lot of that is just your wastewater project being capitalized. So we note that as a capital asset, and then once it's complete, we start depreciating it over time. And then liabilities of the city overall, you'll see some increases in current liabilities. A lot of that's just construction payables due at year end for the wastewater project. So that increased, the construction payables increased about 298,000 at year end compared to last year. And then debt, you'll just see a little bit of fluctuation there. Some additional draws on your PFA debt for the project, but then also, of course, the city timely paying off its other debt that it has. And then here we'll maybe take a little bit closer look at the debt of the city. So governmental activities debt. For debt issuances there, you'll see we're showing here future debt payments, so you can kind of see how they drop off as time goes on. The industrial parkland, that one will expire in 26, and then your 2020A in 2028, and then your 2015A in 2031, and then your 2018A in 2034. So you can kind of see the drop-offs around those time frames as far as the future debt payments go. And then for business type activities, this is that sewer revenue note that we had talked about. So overall, at this point in time, additional draws will be made, but at this point in time, it's about 2047 when that final payoff will occur. As additional draws are made though, that may extend out a few years beyond that 2047 range that is noted there. And then my contact information is there, but if there's any other questions, I'd definitely be happy to answer those. Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, that was it?
Thank you.
You're done?
That's
Yeah.
it.
I thought we were going through all these books.
Yep. Yeah, if you want an afternoon nap.
No, we're good. Is there any other business, or I mean?
Do you go into
I'll make a motion to accept the audit report for 2023.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adjourn or what? Or is there more,
If we have other business on the agenda, so you could.
is there other business to come before this council?
Opening the pool was fun.
I
Yes.
don't think there's anything that we didn't, the only thing we overlooked yet, we didn't pursue it, and that was that stove fence ordinance. We kinda overlooked that.
Yeah.
We gonna do anything with that?
I
The
thought
attorney is,
Yeah, the attorney was
Attorney
gonna
had
get
to
some,
look at it, into
was
it,
gonna get us
further look at
some
that.
get us something in
verbiage.
July.
Yep. Yeah.
Verbiage, right, yes.
I thought it'd be an easy fix, just put the stakes in before it gets too cold.
But yeah,
Pretty
you
simple.
gotta change the date.
No.
Should be an easy fix, yeah.
Common sense thing. Okay, that's the only thing I had.
Did Sarah have anything to say to us?
No.
Okay.
what's the score?
I'll ask in a minute.
If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion, or meeting is adjourned.